It was spring at the family farm, and everyone was busy looking after the sheep in the shed. "Good morning, Spring," said Tec. Tec looked sleepy. His eyes were small, and he gave a big yawn as he drove down the trail all crooked. Looking after sheep was a very tiring job. Every morning, once he reaches the shed, the first thing Tec does is visit his little friends. This morning was no different, so in he went. "Hello, Doris." "Hello, Owen," said Tec. "Hello, Tec. Hey, have you got some milk for us?" asked Owen. "No," replied Tec. "Oh, well, do you want to play then?" asked Doris. "Yes, in a minute, but I have to help Molly first." And off Tec went to look for Molly. There was a new little black lamb in the sheep shed. Its wool was soft and its little legs were weak and shaky. But its mother was very happy to have it. It looked around in amazement. But wait a minute, another little lamb was on its way. "Look, Tec, a new little lamb," said Molly. Tec looked at the lamb. It had just been born. Its mother was smelling it and licking it clean. Tec knew that sheep recognized their baby lambs through their smell. "Sheep are lucky," said Tec. "They don't have to think of names for their lambs. They only have to smell them." Tec noticed that Dolly was in a little pen all by herself. What was the matter with her, he wondered. Something must have happened to her little lamb. But before Tec had a chance to ask Dolly what was wrong, Molly called him. "Are you coming to help, Tec?" she asked, holding a bottle of milk. "Yes," said Tec. And the two of them went to the pen where the other little lambs were resting. "At last! Where have you been?" said Owen. "I just saw a little lamb being born," said Tec. "Come here, Doris. It's your turn to eat," said Molly, as she put the milk bottle into the lamb's mouth. Before long, Doris had sucked the bottle dry. Tec took the empty bottles back to the house. And Molly went to see if the sheep in the field were okay. When he was done, Tec went back to the shed to see his friends. But when he got there was no sign of the little lambs. "Doris! Owen!" Tec called. Where had they gone? Then he heard a cow mooing somewhere. "Daisy! They're with Daisy," said Tec. And off he went out of the shed. Past the bunches of hay and over to the cowshed. "Do you know these little lambs, Tec?" asked Daisy. "Yes, of course," said Tec. "They're Doris and Owen, and I've been looking for them everywhere." "Well, off you go now, little lambs. Otherwise, you'll tire yourselves out," said Daisy. "I have to bring them back to feed them with a bottle," said Tec. "Oh, I see," said Daisy. "I'd better see if Tommy the trailer can help," said Tec. "Tommy, will you take Doris and Owen to the sheep shed?" asked Tec. "Are they wearing diapers?" asked Tommy. "Diapers? Of course not. They're little lambs," said Tec. "Oh, well, I'm not going to carry them then," said Tommy. "Why not?" asked Tec. "In case they do a wee-wee on me, of course," said Tommy. "But it's just to the sheep shed," said Tec. So he grabbed Tommy before he had a chance to say no. Once Doris and Owen jumped on to Tommy the trailer, off they went. "This is fun," said Owen. "Lots of fun," said Doris. "You stay at the sheep shed," said Tec, "and don't wander off. It will be feeding time soon." Just then, Molly added a bag of food onto Tommy the trailer. "Oh," grunted Tec. "Oh." "Those are some noises, Tec. It's not too heavy for you, is it?" said Molly. But Tec managed to take the food bag out of the shed. It was feeding time, and Molly poured some food from the bag for each sheep. There we go, said Molly. Everyone has filled their tummies. Tec and Tommy the trailer decided to go and see Doris and Owen. Were they hungry again, he wondered? Doris, Owen, do you want some milk now? Asked Tec. Milk? Oh, yes, please, said Doris. I'll have 2 bottles, said Owen. Good gracious me, your tummy will swell like a balloon if you drink 2 bottles, said Tec. Toot toot, Molly! Tec tooted his horn outside the house, but he didn't need to ask for milk. Molly had already prepared some. Come on, Molly, they're starving, said Tec. And Owen said he could drink 2 bottles on his own. Here you go, said Molly. But when he got back, only Owen was there. Where was Doris? Where's Doris? Asked Tec. But Owen didn't care. He was too busy drinking. He wasn't worried about anything except his own tummy. Molly, I'll go with Tommy the trailer to look for Doris, said Tec. As they were going past the little pens, Tec heard Dolly laughing. And there was Doris in the pen with Dolly. Yes, Doris had found a new friend, and Dolly was happy to have Doris keep her company. Well, that's lucky, said Tec. Yes, indeed, said Tommy the trailer. When Molly and Owen went to see what was happening, they were both very happy too. Doris had been very lucky, but so had Owen. He had just drunk 2 bottles of milk all by himself. It was a beautiful June day at the family farm. The hay from the field filled the air with a smell as sweet as honey. What are the big red tractor and the haymaker doing today? Tec wondered. Sweet honeysuckle! They're turning the hay! Tec was so excited that he went to tell Katie. Beep, beep! Out of the way, everybody! Out of the way! Shouted Tec as he drove across the farmyard. When he arrived at the garden, Katie was waiting for him. We have to toss the hay today, Katie, said Tec. Oh, great! Katie jumped up and began tossing hay in the air. Making hay in the garden? That's strange. But it wasn't really because Katie and Tec had asked Molly to leave the cuttings from when she mowed the grass on the garden lawn instead of throwing it all out. They wanted to use it to make hay in the garden, and today was the day. No, no, said Molly. You don't turn hay like that. You must use a rake, like this. Molly showed them how farmers used to toss hay in the old days. But why do you have to toss the hay? So that all of it dries in the sun, said Molly. Katie went to fetch a small rake and started to help her mother. After she finished tossing the hay, Katie asked, "What are we supposed to do now?" "I know," said Tec. "You stay here, Katie, and I will go to the field to see how Roy makes hay." And off he went. "Beep, beep, look out!" yelled Tec, hooting his horn wildly.
Bark, bark! Goodness gracious! Not Tec again!
Cackled the hens. Tec finally made it to the hayfield. But now the haymaker wasn't tossing the hay. He was laying it out in neat rows. "Galloping gaskets! That haymaker is very clever," said Tec. But how could he and Katie make rows of hay like that? Tec didn't know. But he started his engine and off he went through the fields again to tell her.
Goodness! What on earth is the matter with Tec today? He's like a yo-yo, driving back and forth between the garden and the hayfield since early this morning.
But Tec wasn't listening. He was in far too much of a hurry to go back and tell Katie what they had to do next. "Katie! Katie! Beep, beep!" Tec hooted his horn. "What are we supposed to do now?" asked Katie eagerly. "Gather it up in rows! Gather it up into rows!" gasped Tec breathlessly. "Like this?" asked Katie. "Yes, yes, exactly. That's it." Tec was thrilled. And Katie made perfect rows. But gathering all the hay into rows was an awful lot of work. "Hold on, I'll help you now," said Molly. And they worked to put the hay in neat rows. Tec couldn't do much to help because he didn't have the right tool for the job. "Galloping gaskets! This is no good! I've got nothing to do now," said Tec disappointedly. "Just wait a minute," said Molly. "I know what you can do." And off she went to get something. "Here you go," she said when she returned. "A rake! A rake just for me!" Tec was thrilled. "Now then, all we have to do is put the rake on your hook at the back, and there we go." "Oh, great! Now I can help too," said Tec happily. And before anyone could tell him what to do, Tec was off gathering the loose hay. "Good for you, Tec," said Molly. Roy and the big red tractor were still making hay in the field. Their tools were a little bit bigger, so it was much easier and faster than using a rake. When Tec finished his work, Molly unhooked the rake, and off he went to the hayfield to see what the next step would be. "I won't be long," said Tec as he drove out of the garden. He traveled across the farmyard. And into the hayfield. And when he got there, he was in for a big surprise. Nobody was there. There was no sign of Roy or the tractor or the haymaker. Only a field of fresh hay arranged in neat rows. "Galloping gaskets! They must have finished," said Tec. But how would Molly and Katie know what to do next, he wondered. "I know," said Tec. "I'll find Bill, the little buncher. He'll know what to do next." And just in the field next door, Tec found the big red tractor and Bill working hard, making bunches of hay. Bill raked the hay into his mouth with his sharp teeth, gave it a shape, and then pushed out a bunch in a perfect rectangle. Tec looked in amazement at all the neat bunches. "Bill's bunches! Katie and I will never be able to put the hay into bunches like that," sighed Tec sadly. "We haven't got the right tools." So he dragged himself back sadly. Across the farmyard, and back to the garden. "What should we do now?" asked Katie. "Put the hay in neat bunches," said Tec. "But that's impossible because we don't have the right tool." "Don't worry, Tec. Nothing is impossible," said Molly. "Katie, would you please take the cups back into the house and bring out some string?" Then, as Katie went to fetch the string, Molly rolled the hay into neat round balls. Once Katie returned, she tied the string around the balls of hay very tightly. "There, what do you think of that bunch?" asked Molly proudly. "That's perfect, Molly!" Tec wriggled in delight. "Yes, it is," agreed Katie. How many bunches had Bill made by now? The whole field was dotted with bunches of hay, and Bill was still going. After all the work in the garden, and in the field, every bit of hay had been made into a neat bunch. And there was only one thing left to do. Carry the bunches into the hay shed where they would be safe from rain and bad weather. While Katie and Molly prepared the bunches of hay, Tec went to get Tommy the trailer so that they could load the bunches onto him. In the hay shed, Roy was unloading the bunches Bill had made. He was building a huge haystack. "Where should we take our bunches of hay?" asked Tommy the trailer. "To the hay shed, of course," said Tec. "Galloping gaskets. Tommy the trailer asks some silly questions sometimes. Honestly." By supper time, there were 2 tidy haystacks at the family farm. Roy's big haystack and Tec and Katie's little one. There was plenty of hay for the animals to eat all winter long. It had been raining non-stop all through the night at the family farm. There were puddles of water everywhere. There were puddles in the road, in front of the house, and there was even an enormous puddle in the farmyard. "Good morning, everybody," shouted Tec. "Oh, what a big puddle!" he exclaimed, pulling back quickly. He had never seen a puddle this big in the farmyard. Did Colin the farmhand know about it? He wondered. "Colin, Colin," called Tec as he drove around and tooted his horn. "Beep, beep." "Oh, good morning, Tec. What's the matter?" "Well, there's a great big puddle of water in the farmyard," said Tec. "Puddle of water?" asked Colin. "I'd better change my boots then." And off he went to look for his rain boots. Oh dear. His boots were filled with water too. The roof was leaking and dripping right into them. My goodness, this is a big puddle, sighed Colin. In the house, Molly was sighing too. The water simply would not drain from the sink, even though she had pulled out the plug. That's odd, she said. It drained perfectly yesterday. What was the matter, she wondered. She went outside and examined the gutter to see if it was blocked with dirt and leaves, which would stop the water from draining. But the gutter was perfectly clean. Perhaps the pipe was blocked, thought Molly. What happened, Colin? Asked Tec. Have you forgotten to pull the plug? Tec, there's no plug in the farmyard, laughed Colin. The gutter must have closed up. Galloping gaskets! The gutter is closed up? Go and fetch Tommy the trailer, said Colin. And before Colin could say another word, Tec was on his way to the machine shed. Come on, Tommy. There's a great big puddle of water in the farmyard, said Tec. A puddle of water in the farmyard? What can we do about that? Asked Tommy. You'll find out in a minute, replied Tec, hooking up his friend and pulling him out of the shed. Here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rods to clean the drain. That should be enough, said Colin. Once they reached the puddle, Colin joined all the rods together until they made one long rod. Colin pushed the long rod down the drain and turned it. What is he doing? Asked Tommy the trailer. Cleaning the drain, said Tec. That's it, said Colin. The water should drain off easily now. But the water didn't go anywhere, and the great big puddle was still there. Colin looked at Tec, and Tec looked at Colin, and they both looked at the water. Oh dear, I better try once more then, said Colin. Although he pushed and turned and tugged, the water did not flow away. Oh dear, said Tec. Duck eggs and donuts, said Colin. The opening at the end of the drain must be blocked. Here it is, said Molly. She managed to find the plunger. This should work. She placed the plunger over the drain hole and pushed it up and down a few times until the dirt was sucked down the sink. Thank goodness for that, said Molly happily. Now I can finish washing the breakfast dishes. Here's the problem, said Colin. You see, the opening of the drain is blocked and the water from the farmyard can't flow away. Colin started to clear the opening. An old tire, leaves, and clumps of dirt and grass were covering it up. And once Colin finished cleaning the drain opening, the water flowed easily into the ditch. Good job, Colin. You know, we really should open the ditch all the way, said Colin. When the three returned to the farmyard, the puddle had disappeared. The water had drained down into the ditch. That got rid of the water, said Colin. Can you take the rods back to the tool shed for me, please? I've got to make a phone call. Just then, who came up the road but a great big strong backhoe, a beautiful orange one. Oh, it's huge, said Tec excitedly. And just look at those big strong arms. After the driver turned off the engine and said hello to Colin, Tec and Tommy went over to chat with the backhoe. Hello, I'm Tec. And I'm Tommy the trailer. Hello, I'm a backhoe, but you can call me JC, said the machine proudly.
Oh, thanks. Thanks very much, JC,
said Tommy and Tec together. So, how can I help you? Asked JC. I am very busy, so I should get started. Colin wants you to open the ditch in the field, said Tec. Oh well, even if I say so myself, you won't find anyone better at opening up a ditch, boasted JC. Can we help you? Asked Tec. That won't be necessary, thank you. I never accept help from anyone. I can do everything myself, said JC proudly. Oh, said Tec, who was disappointed. Yes, I'm very fortunate to be a big, strong machine. Little weak machines are the kind that need help, said JC. But we're not weak, protested Tec. No, we're not, said Tommy. We can do lots of things. Sure you can, smiled JC. But I can do all kinds of things with my arms and buckets. Come to the field and I'll show you, he boasted. And at that, the driver climbed into JC's cab. This way, said Colin. Tec and Tommy the trailer followed them to the field. JC got to work right away. Look, he's got feet of steel, said Tommy excitedly. How useful it would be to have feet as well as wheels, thought Tec. But JC had only just begun showing off what he could do. Watch this, he shouted. He lifted a whole bucket of dirt and grass from the ditch and dumped it out on the field behind him. Hey, look at me now, he shouted. But at that very second, he just stopped. He couldn't move his arm. Hey, what's going on here? What's wrong with me? He asked. I can't move. What's the matter? Asked Colin. I don't know, said the driver. What do you mean you don't know? I can't move my wheels, my feet, or my arms, complained JC. Colin and the driver looked at JC confused. Oh dear. I don't know what's happened, said the driver. JC has run out of gas. Oh, Colin was annoyed. Don't worry, said Tec. Tommy and I will fetch a can of gas for you now. No, I don't want you to fetch gas for me. I can do that myself, said JC angrily. Oh, no you can't, said Tec. You can't move at all without gas, remember? But I don't want your help, little tractor. I don't need anyone, fumed JC. Everyone needs someone to help them sometimes, said Tec. And off he went across the field. After they put gas in his tank again, JC could lift the bucket in the air with his arms once again, and he went right back to work. Hey, look at this! I can move again, said JC happily. Thank you, Tec and Tommy. You're welcome, said Tec. Everyone needs help sometimes, you see? You're right, Tec. Perfectly right. And JC went on working until he'd finished the job.